Hi, it's Gil. This is Burkland Gardens. We're going on a nursery tour today of a wholesale nursery. And these trees are available to me, and I take people over there, I would say, quite often, but it has some of the most unusual trees, very well cared for, and so I'm going to leave the rest of it for the nursery tour, and let's get going. I'm going to have you walk with me a little bit. We're at a wholesale nursery. Behind me you see some young Stewartias. There's a variety of Stewartias in different stages of growth. Hinokis cypresses, and this nursery is known for its Japanese black pines. There's several thousand here, and I do sell them regularly to people that want trees for, they're just really cool looking trees, but for Japanese garden style trees, possibly bonsai, even though they are a little bit large for that. So let's go for a little tour. We've got the Stewartias. There's some espaliered apples here to my left, and some younger Japanese maples. And then there's some younger Japanese black pines here that we're going to start with, and we'll just work our way down the field here. As we make our way down the fields here, there's a lot of Japanese black pines. These are some of the younger ones. I can't tell you the exact age, but I would say at least 6 years old, maybe 8 years old. In this field, they prune regularly and candle regularly, pruning out the center limbs, and then in spring the candles are reduced to keep the tree smaller as well, and try to reduce the size of the needles. So there's upright trees like this. There's some that are laid over, and we'll see some more mature trees as we work our way down the field. But this is a group of trees that in the next few years will become available. They're not for sale right now. They'll be grown on to become a larger size and more garden worthy. So I was talking about cutting out the limbs, so you can see there's a little bit of sap and healing over right there. So that limb has been cut out, that one there, this one, and new buds will form where these needles are, and there's dormant buds in here, and it'll create what's called ramification in the bonsai world. Means more and more it'll create a pad of limbs and needles that'll have that look that's very desirable in bonsai or in Milwaukee style, Japanese garden style. So they go through every tree in this nursery every year doing that, and you see how labor intensive, and you think of why a tree like this might be expensive, and the labor involved is quite a bit. So, and you get a very healthy tree here. So
what's the best time to do those cuts?
Yeah, so actually there was a bit of a question this year because the owner wanted to do it a little bit earlier, and he came to me, and I didn't have a good answer, but I was able to refer him to another person in Oregon that does a lot of this as well. And he did it earlier in the year. Sometimes you wait a little bit longer. You do have to be careful of freezing weather. They're a little more susceptible. There's less foliage and the needles, but wintertime, dormant season time before they start budding again. So he did it early in the year this year, and everything seems to be fine. And we're having a pretty mild fall, and looks like winter is going to be mild too. So no real issues, and so timing was really good on that one. So it was a kind of a mid-fall pruning on these. There's some more mature Japanese black pines behind me. I would say, again, we don't have the exact age on them. I don't. The grower, he keeps good track of it, and I can find out. These trees are available. I do sell them, with not a great markup. So I pay a wholesale price, and then the customer, if you want to buy one of these trees, you have to come here and look at them, tag them. The owner gives me a price, and I do a small markup on it.
For shipping?
So shipping on these, probably not. It's a big project, so they're more available for local or people that can travel here, even from places like Oregon or Idaho possibly. So, so I think Japanese black pines are zone 5, so they're not as hardy as some of the pines, but they're very cold hardy. But when the temperatures get really low, you know, you have to be realize what that might do to them. So always good to check that. So these are what's called the cork barks, and the cork barks are very desirable, and they develop those deep fissures in the trunk and on the limbs. And you can see again, these have been pruned heavily. You can see the remnants of the branches that were pruned off, the tips, as they develop the ramification here in the tree. So it takes the young ones we just looked at were starting to develop a little bit. I would say that these are probably about 15 years old. It would be my estimate. I don't have an exact, and they're starting to develop really nicely. So they'll start at somewhat of a young age, and that's the advantage. You know what? These are desirable because they will cork. We call it cork up, or the bark will get corky at an early age, and it'll give the appearance of a very old tree. And then these pad developments. Every year they've selected the branches that they're going to be kept. Sometimes this top can be taken out if you want to have another branch become the terminal, but it'll help if you let it go for a while. It's called a sacrificial branch. It'll keep pulling sap up through the trunk, and it'll thicken up the base that in the bonsai world is called nabari, that thick flaring trunk. These are all grafted trees, so they do have that. That sometimes are not a good characteristic, but these were done by an expert grafter who did a very low graft on them. Standing next to some Hinokis cypress, they're Cypress obtusa. They're actually a false cypress, but again, they don't have a regular needle. They have these little fan spray, and there's a name for that, and I always forget it. But this is a miniature variety, and there's a number of different varieties of cultivars, types of Hinokis cypress, but they have that coloration and shadowing effect that's really desirable. It's good to keep them cleaned out, and then we're going to look at some in a little bit that have been cleaned up and have some styling to it. So these I would estimate to be at least 20 years old, maybe even 25 years old. So they're very dwarf version of the Hinokis cypress. It can get quite tall, and the wood is used in Japan for construction, and then there's a slender version that that's used for in the landscape as well, and then lots of miniature types that are used. And there's gold ones, and quite a few different gold ones. So great tree in the landscape. It always looks really nice. We're going to walk down this row and look at a few trees. On my right, there's some Stewartias, and Stewartias are like one of my favorite trees. They have a camellia-like flower. It's white, and it'll have a yellow center of the stamens. And all these were little seed pods. These were all flowers, and they flower in the summertime too. So early summer, late spring, early summer. But and you can see these. How healthy these trees are. All the buds are already showing and swelling. They start doing that early on, and they'll do that throughout the winter until they leaf out and then finally flower in the summertime. So we'll walk down here. The bark on these exfoliates, meaning that it gets flaky, like peeling bark, and it has a mottled color, so there's a variation of color, browns and grays. Really a nice tree. And there's at least three different types here. There's I think 5 or 6 at least types of Stewartias. Japanese black pines over here. Here's one that's laid over totally. Another really nice cork bark. Actually follow me through here, Max. We're going to look at a Hinoki that has a miniature one that has a giant trunk on it. Really nice. So the thing about these Hinokis is, keeping them cleaned out, and when you prune them, you can go in and select the branch. You can shear them. It's not the recommended way, and it does work, but cleaning out all these old needles, and then you can come back and make your cuts in there so it doesn't show. Cut off that part of the branch, and if it's too long out here, you can cut that off. But it would show that trunk just shows off nice. It's at least a 6, maybe an 8-inch caliper trunk, so just gorgeous. The bark on, you can just see how interesting the bark is. So the most popular of the Stewartias is Pseudocamellia, but there's several others, Monodelpha and Rostrata, I think is another one, and I think there's one of the other ones. You can tell it's not quite as flaky, but it has a rough bark to it. So this tree is so cool. It's very, very narrow. I'm going to say it's a hornbeam. Hornbeams and beeches will hang on to their leaves sometimes well into the winter, and sometimes even till the new leaves start to emerge in the spring. But definitely no more than 3 feet wide, 12 feet tall, very dense tree. So it would fit, that small landscape where you don't want a large tree but want to have a hornbeam or something like that. And there's just so many cool trees in this nursery, and we're just going to barely touch on some of them. But if people want to come and visit, I can give them a tour of this nursery as well as my nursery. So let's go over where the container nursery things are. Weeping Canadian hemlock. I don't know if interesting. Oh yeah, you can kind of see the trunk on that one, how nice it is. And then there's a few of these. Look how contorted this thing. This goes like this, swoops to the right, back this way, and up this. This is a type of Serbian spruce, Picea america, and this is called Pendula bruns. There is a bruns that stays narrow. Serbian spruce, the Picea america, is a really nice spruce, and it has that silvery blue tinge to it too. And this one just, again, probably 25 to 30 years old. There's one that has not quite as contorted, has created a cape over here to the left of that, another one behind that. A couple of ones that are growing flat over here. They just sort of do whatever they want to do, and you can see by the side of the trunk how old it is. And well, then we get to a group of Japanese white pines, and that's Pinus parviflora. There's hundreds of cultivars, at least 100. I'm sure there's lots more. You only see a few in the trade, but these are cultivar types that are older, really nice trunks, and nice needles. We'll work our way through here. A few Pinus sylvestris here, which are called I call them Scotch pines, but some people say Scots pine. These are miniature versions. They're quite old. I think I can identify this one over here as possibly Little Ann, the cultivar, and this one right here as, I would say, as Jeremy. These cultivar always have names that are officially registered, and then there's another one here that I would call Little Ann. Really only grows an inch or so. It's considered a miniature, so it's a great little tree. I'm standing next to a new introduction, and I don't have the exact name. I want to say it's Green Tower or Tiny Towers or something like that. Western red cedar, Tsuga placata, and it is the Western red cedar has a bronze tone to it in the wintertime, so you see it look this way, but it's still pretty green, very dense. It's a new introduction, like I said, and these are being, every other one is being dug out. You'll see a hole to the left and to the right, and they're being relined. Relined meaning you put them, you space them out differently, and then they've been dug. But these are getting almost between the 4 to 5 foot range right now. Grow slowly and dense, and there's a number of cultivars of the western red cedar out there, like Excelsa and Green Giant. Green Giant's a hybrid, but this one would make an excellent screen, and this is probably one of the few places you can find it. And yeah, there's a couple rows here, a row over there, and then they've been relining some of them up front. Well, we're looking at a lot of Japanese black pines today, and most of them been in the ground, but here's some that are actually ready to sell. They're in large pots. I would say they're 30-gallon pots at least. Maybe they're bigger than that, but you can see they've been they have amazing styling. The pads have been developed. Again, about a 25-year-old tree. The nice cork bark look that these have, and then you just have multiple pads, and then these are sold, and then the person that gets them either has to take care of them and keep these pads developed, or have someone do it for them. So it is not something you can just leave and let it go. You have to continue to work on it. So, but gorgeous trees, and we've got a whole grouping of them in here, so it's quite amazing. We've looked at a lot of Hinokis cypress today, and next to me are some slow-growing dwarf types that are just huge. I don't know if they're for sale or not, but I just wanted to get them on camera, and we'll get up close and show the trunk on it too. But 12 to 14 feet tall, probably about almost as wide, at least 10 feet, maybe a little bit more. But what an amazing tree. Here's a Japanese black pine. It has a name Kotobuki. It is a fairly slender one, has shorter needles, dark green color, and as I'm looking at it, my estimate would be at least 30 years old. It's about 15 feet tall. You can see how narrow it is. They don't take as much, you don't need to prune them as much. They take care of themselves, and I have these in smaller ones, anywhere from 1 gallon, 2 gallon, and some that are about 2 to 3 feet tall at the nursery. But this is you can kind of look down at that trunk and you see the size of that thing, and it was looks like it might have been recently moved here, but it's a balled and burlap tree. So I just wanted to stop and show this cultivar on the video as well. There are thousands of trees on the nursery that we just looked at, and here what I have at the nursery, and I'm able to show both places at the same time. So if you find things that are interesting, let me know. I'd love to see you here at the nursery, and it'll be an interesting year. I have a lot of plants to sell this year. So, but also I just want you to learn things about conifers and plants, and I don't claim to be the expert, total expert, but anyway, hopefully you'll learn something new and just carry on. So happy gardening. Bye.